As long as I've been using a camera, I have always defined myself as an environmental portrait photographer, preferring to work on location rather than within the constraints of the studio and all those pernicious electronic devices with their dangling connective cords. My subjects are often rendered abstractly in pre-negotiated settings. They are academics implanted onto their workspaces, musicians enwrapped in their instruments, artists in their paintings, children in exploration, people who float differently within their personal spaces outside of the performative of typical, the elderly or those with congenital challenges submerged in swimming pools, oceans, and streams. They are collaged into the poetry of their memories, or refurbished as ancestral data within the family album. In production and exhibition, there is performance and requiem, poetry, music, reverie of some sort that accompanies these images. The process itself becomes a celebration with the portrait as the centerpiece, but always the portrait. As one does sometimes during periods of intense change and upheaval, I've begun reflecting on my earliest memories, as a child waking up through a window of trees that my mother later taught me to draw as impressionistic renditions, and later roaming the forest, creeks, and mountains of Western Carolina, searching for treasured mica and hidden gems to keep for souvenirs from those excursions. During the first spring and summer of the COVID pandemic, I was led into deep exploration of the natural world of local trees. So it was with wonder to find myself traipsing around the woods and swamps, inspired by some of my more adventurous nature-loving students and comrades, exploring trees and the roots and foundations that feed and sustain them, to frame the natural element rather than the human figure within it as the central theme of the imagination. But I've always been a portrait photographer, and it is always the portrait and the notion of portrait that I seek. Embraced by this forest environment, I have reintegrated the figure into the frame, portraying the interconnective relationship of trees and those drawn to them. As I become more intimate with tree lovers, I have come to question ideas that bond us as humans to the inner lives of trees. I see trees as collaborative portraits, branches and limbs embracing, protecting, and sheltering those who lean against their trunks or beneath their branches, creating wind shadows and memories. It strikes me that preserving or crafting memories, as garden lovers must do, is exactly what my photography is about. Planting, replanting, gifting, and regifting of imagery, historical ancestral archives for sharing, creating, and preserving family memory. You and the tree in your backyard come from a common ancestor, a message from Richard Powers' The Overstory, spoken by Maidenhair from her perch in the canopy of the Mimas, hundreds of feet above ground and 500,000 days and nights old.